Geeky Quilters, Amber here. Today I'm finishing cutting up all of the pieces I need for Hannah's quilt. And so I am using some UL fabric in the quilt, but it is not going to be a UL quilt. It is going to be a very Hannah quilt. So I am using a pattern from this big book of scrappy quilts. If you've watched me make any quilts, you know I'm a scrappy quilter. I literally went through all of my fabric recently and plucked out anything that I thought was Hannah. And so I have some UL fabric, I have some black and gray, which are going to be the accent and the sashing. So the quilt is called Geese in Flight, and it is, I don't know if you can see, Geese in Flight, 49 blocks of 12 flying geese. 12 triangles, yeah, 12 flying geese. So, it's a lot. I've had to cut over 1,000 squares and 500 strips, and now I'm cutting 500 little blocks that are going to be the flying geese eventually. So it's a lot of cutting and a lot of fabric. There are several ways to make flying geese. For this particular project, I am following the instructions in the book, and I am drawing a diagonal line from corner to corner on all of the squares that will construct the flying geese. I have already pieced one square to the corner of each of the rectangle blocks. I've cut the edges off and I'm flipping them over and ironing them in place. So here you can see I'm placing the square on the corner, and I'm going to sew on the diagonal line that I drew earlier and just sewing straight down that line. After I've put all of the squares onto the rectangles, I'm cutting them apart because they were chain pieced. And then you can see I'm going to cut the edges off right here before I iron them down. Now I'm going to use these edges for something else. I don't throw fabric away, so stay tuned for that. Now that I have sewn both squares on either side of the rectangle, you can see I have a completed flying geese. One goose. So I've got now a stack of these, the flying geese units with the black on the side. I'm going to make this block, and I'm going to need 20 of these. So my quilt will be my quilt will be 5 by 4. So that's what I'm sewing today. Hopefully I can get it finished. I'm almost done. A lot of these flying geese are imperfect, and so I'm going to do my best to get the good side here against each other, and then we'll kind of see how that goes. I suspect that I'm going to be doing some trimming, but that's all good. I am not a perfect quilter, people, and this black on black is really hard to see. I really like this block. There's a lot of sewing involved, but it's a cute block. Y'all, I know there is no way I'm going to get all these blocks right. And I have run out of thread. I did not realize so many of these units have this this particular fabric in them, so I'm going to separate those to make it easier to find the blocks to mix and match those with and those without. So it's probably about half. Jeez, I didn't realize that. And the reason I have so much of that is because the colors of the school, the university that she goes to, are vermilion and black, so which is red. And so this is also school colors here with the fleur-de-lis UL Lafayette. So I'll make sure that I'm going to try to get those mixed as much as I can. So it's going to be a large part of the quilt, which is what I wanted. But I also want them to be spread out evenly. I don't want big clumps of them. So I'm going to try to mix them as much as I can. I have completed all of the blocks. I've included the 3 Flying Geese units. Turns out they're a little bit wonky, so I had to trim down the 12-inch blocks down to 11 3/4. I am gonna lose some of my points here. I'm kind of sad about it, but I can't remake the entire quilt. Now I'm much better at flying geese than I was when I started. Anyway, so these are the blocks. I think it turned out super cute. I'm gonna lay them out, sew the rows and then the columns, and we'll be done with the quilt. As I made this quilt, I would keep all of the pieces in this little box here and all of the scrap pieces in this box. So again, these are all the bits that I've cut out that I'm going to make, hopefully in the border. If not, I think I'm going to make a bag for Hannah. But these are some leftover of the light squares that made up the flying geese. I have, let's see, what else do I have in here? I have like, y'all, so many little bits and pieces. It's kind of funny. So some of these are just the rectangles. Some of them actually are leftover. Like this is a pretty good one. You can see the edge is straight. This is one of the last ones I made. This is a good block. I have this many very wonky geese. This one's actually not too bad. Let me see if I can find a really bad one. Of course, now that I'm looking for it. Some of them, the tops aren't in order. So I have lots of these black strips left over. I'm going to use those in the border somehow, some way. More black strips. You can see I made the quilt significantly smaller than intended. So this is just the unit, and as you can see, like if I line the bottom up here, you can see that I'm off by like, wow, more than I care to share with you guys, but we're not perfect. I'm not a perfect quilter for sure. So you can, oh, this is a bad one. I mean, like I couldn't even use this. Look at, if I keep this side straight, these two go really okay. But this one is off Yeah, it's almost a half of an inch off. Like that's, I can't even use that. So that went into the pile. This one again, just so wonky, y'all. These are my wonky geese, clipped wing maybe. I don't know what we're gonna call them. They're a bit cheeky. So these are my cheeky geese. So my cheeky geese, as I would get them, and they were like totally just, I can't even use that. Like, how is it? The points are off. It's askew. Like, this is just so bad. Y'all, this is so so it's off by 1/4 of an inch going up here, which puts it, you know, 1/4 of an inch or more up there. Here it's off by 1/4 of an inch. So just completely not usable. For the most part, some are way worse than others, but just for whatever reason, these were insufficient to put in the quilt. So I have like so many of them. I'm wondering what I'm going to do with them. I thought about too whether I could turn them, if I straighten them out. So like this edge is pretty straight, like that's really good. But then this one is off. So I thought about what if I trim them down, could I make like half square triangles out of them? But that won't work. So anyway, I'm going to use these somehow, some way. I don't know yet, but if you have suggestions, I would love to hear what to do with them. But again, I've got a lot of them. These are 2.5 inch squares, totally usable. These are totally usable as well. So I'm going to do something with all of that. I don't know what. Don't know if you could see those boxes I was throwing them in. So yeah, I've got tons of leftover fabric from this quilt that I'm going to piece together, do something cool with. Don't know what. Yeah, so those are my wonky geese that won't fly.